Hey, what's up, people? Welcome to the Horrorble podcast, where we like to bring you a uniquely face value view on horror movies. My name is Devin Arnold, and I'm here with my co-hosts. First off, Manton, how are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Doing really good, Devin. Tonight I'm drinking a Pinko, which is by Flat 12. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I saw that in your freezer, and I was jealous. It looks delicious. And, Bluetster, what's up, dude?
What's up, dog?
What up? I asked you a question.
I countered with another question.
Well,
it's like Jeopardy in here.
Oh, okay. That's fine. I'm not going to answer it. I'm going on. So, Dylan, finally, what's going on, dude?
Hey, I'm not drinking anything tonight. I'm drinking water. Keeping myself sober for these sobering films that we're going to talk about.
Wow. Things just got a little bit deep.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, before we get into that, first off, the movies are Sleep Tight, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, and Maniac from 1980, not the remake with Elijah Woods, a.k.a. Frodo Baggins. So, before we get into that, always, we are on email and Twitter, and Facebook, actually. So, first, our email is horriblepodcast@gmail.com.
Did you just sing that?
Yeah, it sounded...
horriblepodcast@gmail.com.
He definitely did.
Horrible podcast, horrible
I just feel like I've said it so many times, it turns into a song eventually. And let's keep on going with that.
Please.
HORRORBLE podcast@gmail.com.
I hate this.
This is the worst. Never, ever again.
All right, that's it. We're done. Also, we're on Twitter, and that's just @HorribleCast. We could not fit the pod in. And finally, we're on Facebook, and that is just Horrible Podcast on Facebook.
Type it into the search bar.
Right. So, that being said, now we have a couple emails to read out, guys. Are you excited?
Ooh, I suppose.
I'm pretty excited. These are good ones. First is a question about our rating system from a Matt Willett. And he says that he listened to the episode 8, and he was wondering some things about our rating system. He said, both Manton and Blutz gave a gem to the second movie, the second Don't movie, which would have been Don't Look Now.
Yeah. Ooh.
And he said...
So, okay, I'm sorry. Blutster just made that fart noise. He gave it a gem.
Yeah, I know.
This is the issue we've been running
This
into.
is an issue. And he says, but, they said they'd revert to a friend, blah, blah, blah. And then he said in earlier episodes, there's the opposite issue where it was me saying I would recommend it to some friends, but giving it a stinker ultimately. So I'm going to let you guys take this away.
I'm gonna back up Matt here, where I fall in the camp with Devin's original
right
there, that you can recommend it to a friend and it's not by virtue a gem.
Sure.
Well, a lot of this stems from the fact that we should point out we had a discussion about all this like that day. I think it was that day, or maybe sometime around then, we discussed like what's the criteria for this, what does it mean to say like that I recommend something, and Brandon said something to me that kind of stuck with me, which was that if you could recommend this movie to somebody, then you should give it a gem. I was thinking about that a little less literally than I think Brandon did.
Right,
I think he said one person in the entire world.
But I'm pretty sure he also didn't know which person he was referring to. He said maybe one person.
I haven't met them yet.
Hypothetical person that he might meet in film school one day. Whatever. Anyway,
in the film school he's not going
to.
Yeah.
I meant that the other person was in film school.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, that's what he said.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like my gem was kind of justified. I mean, my thing about that movie was that I enjoyed what I saw, but the situation we were in to watch that movie was not the ideal situation. I'd have to see it again to really, really say for sure.
But I will also say, for far less controversial movies, my Stinky Gem got so much shit.
I know.
Well, we're not in discussion right now about it, are we?
Well, here's what I think. I think to say that it's either a yes or a no. A stinker is a no, a gem is a yes. So to fall somewhere in the middle, I don't know. It feels like a cop out. That's why for me I went with gem, because I didn't want to say it. Well, this gem's a little smelly,
but it's a little dishonest in the sense that Ebert and Roper did the thumbs up and thumbs down, which I think is too polar. But then you've got it's like a scale of 1 to 10 where the only options are 1 and 10.
That's what I said. I brought this up at the beginning, and you guys seemed to not think it was that crazy. But then you guys just said, well, just think of it as a recommendation or a not recommendation.
Yeah, exactly.
Still, I can see a movie that I recognize as being good, but it feels kind of harsh to be like, this movie's a.
It is
stinker.
kind of harsh, but I think that I think it works well.
I'm going to be honest.
for
I'm
us.
going to run into that problem with this cast on some of the movies that we're watching.
for sure.
Well, luckily we have the context of our reviews, and I hope that people can my thought is that like people can listen to this podcast and they can kind of gauge how each of us are and what each of us likes based on what we say, but also what we've given gems and stinkers to. And I think that that's kind of the fun, having that punctuation point at the end of the review, saying, okay, this is gem, this is stinker. Honestly, it is hard to do.
Yeah, if you've gotten through like the 15-minute reviews, then you know our take on it.
Exactly. Can I say, like, is it fair to say that like that part is way more important than the gem and stinker part?
Yeah. Also, Brandon had quite a few beers that night.
Oh my lord.
Well, I mean,
how many Reds Wickeds?
I think it was like 3 or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Doesn't take much.
I knew that as soon as I gave that rating, I was going to be hearing about it like well after.
Proof positive.
And like, I don't know. My thought on it is the rating system. Obviously, it's going to be very subjective. At the very least, the movie needs to be intended to be scary, right? We all agree on that.
Sure.
And I think that movie was intended to be scary. And the reason I gave that, I was having like an internal struggle. Like, I've dogged on so many proclaimed masterpiece movies, I'm kind of self-conscious now. Like, I feel like a fucking savage.
Yeah. Right.
And,
you are.
But at the same time, I think the movie does have merit, even though it's not necessarily like a great experience. So that's why I had a really, really hard time just saying, yeah, it's a piece of shit.
I feel like you were trying to boil it down to making up for, any flack you might have gotten for giving Night of the Living Dead.
Probably.
It seemed like what I thought, and I think I said this on that cast, was that it seemed like you should have said, rather than say, "Oh, this is a gem," with the caveat that 99% of people won't like it. I think it should have been
stinker
reversed.
with the caveat that 1% of
Exactly.
people
A
won't
stinker
like it.
with the caveat that, like, some people may actually get a lot out of this movie.
That's where I stood on it.
Yeah, but Matt, I mean, like, you can tell that's basically Blitzer's stance. So whether you consider that a gem or a stinker in your parlance, I guess is
And we have a lot of debate about all this. We discuss this probably once a week.
I'm sticking to my guns.
I was going to say, Matt, what it boils down to is that we all have different ways we kind of treat this system.
Subjective.
And I think we can all agree, though, that the 15 minutes or so that we talk about each movie is way more important than the rating system. So, thank you for your question. Our next email is from a new fan, and it really, really, really made our day when we saw this. His name is B Twisted.
Is that his Christian name?
I think so, yeah. And he just simply said, I just want to thank you guys for finally ending my long search for a good horror movie related podcast. I ran into your Twitter account, so of course I followed and then shortly after listened to your first show. By the way, congrats getting through that one.
That's like 2.5 hours.
Sticking through that one.
Yeah.
But then he said, I am now binge listening to all of the shows and loving every second of it. Keep up the good work, boys. Your new fan, B Twisted.
Not gonna lie, I was at my mom's house when I read that, and I showed it to her, and it like almost brought a tear to my eye. I was so proud of that one.
So proud of you, sweetie.
We really appreciate that one.
No, seriously though, that did make my day when I read that one. So thanks, B. B? Can I call you B?
Twisted.
B Twisty.
I think we're close enough to say
We're on first name basis now.
For sure. Oh yeah, but anyway, thank you so much. It's always really, really exciting to get emails like that. So we'll move on from there, and we are going to, for Christmas, our next episode is going to be a Christmas-themed episode.
I'm so excited for this.
I am too.
Even begin to explain.
I was talking to Matt today. I was like, wait, that's next week.
It's crazy.
Can you believe it?
And also, I think we were talking about this. We need to figure out a way to watch all these together.
Yes,
sure.
please.
We need
share some eggnog and some.
Get nogged with my nog dogs again.
Make some cookies.
We broke up the nog so early, and we didn't even come back until...
We still do it again.
Right.
I'm ready for some more.
So we'll be doing our Christmas-themed episode next week. And with that said, we will have 3 giveaways. We will be giving away a Blu-ray for the movies Starry Eyes, Resolution, and The Canal. And if you listen to our prior episodes, we've talked about all of those. And to get more details on that, you have to follow us on Twitter. So add us on Twitter if you're not already following us, and that is, again, @HorribleCast. And we'll have details for that.
Can we say all 3 really worthwhile to own? Definitely.
For sure.
We don't even own them. We actually want them.
Yeah.
But we're giving them away to you.
I might steal these.
We're going to give them to you instead. So, let's get into these reviews now. We have 3 movies on the slate. We have Sleep Tight, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, and Maniac.
And our theme is?
And our theme is killer Sympathy. Basically, the protagonist is the killer.
Or should it have been the Mother's Day episode?
Should have been Mommy Issues
Mommy
episode.
Issues.
I mean, I think most of these
that
movies.
Good, yeah.
We'll get into that.
That goes along with
Most
it.
of this type of movie for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So, let's start off with Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer.
All right, that's mine to explain here. Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer is a, what is it, 1986?
1980,
It's
think it was
86.
mid to late
It's
80s.
86.
It's a 1986 movie, which it's kind of shocking that it's that early, honestly. But it's a movie starring Michael Rooker of
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy,
Walking
of
Dead.
Slither, Walking Dead
Slither,
fame.
yeah.
Really,
Forgot he was in
really
that.
noticeable
Right.
guy. I mean, like he's an actor that you love to either hate or
He looked really-
that you love to hate.
He looked very different in this movie.
He looked beautiful.
He's
in my
young.
taste.
Yeah, he is very young.
But it's worth mentioning him first because he carries the movie. It's a kind of a biography almost of a serial killer, and when it says Portrait of a Serial Killer, it's pretty accurate in that, and it's really unflinching movie, really unflinching portrayal of this guy who's essentially a psychopath. I mean, he has no moral compass
For sure.
whatsoever, and his roommate who slowly becomes a willing accomplice
Right.
to his murders, and his roommate's sister who is somehow involved in this. That's really about all you can say about the movie without kind of giving away the major beats. But it is a brutal and unflinching movie, especially for its time.
One of the things I want to pick up on what you said, Dylan, is it's kind of like it's like kind of a day in the life. A lot of the things that are going on in the movie are very mundane,
Yeah.
and just peppered in with a psychotic's daily issues and problems to face.
The movie feels very grounded, which is something that is interesting because a lot of the movies in the 80s were all about, and even, one of our next movies, Maniac, like so many movies are about how can we do these crazy kills, how can we
to be
make
shocking.
everything as shocking and crazy. This movie is super grounded. It is really just like following a serial killer and sort of seeing his thoughts.
And I want to jump off that point that man just made about it not being flashy kills. What's really odd and kind of off-putting about this movie is that most of the kills aren't even shown. You just see the aftermath.
A lot of them aren't, yeah.
Which is, and when they show the kills, it's all the more effective because of that. Because it is incredibly grounded. There's nothing in this that feels like it couldn't have happened.
Yeah, and that's there's a lot of points I want to say about the actual violence in the movie, but one of the things that I want to point out that I feel like I noticed during the movie is that they don't actually show the killing of any women except for one. There's I don't want to like kid you, there's lots of people that are murdered in this movie, but they only show the killings of the males. All the women usually die off screen or very quietly.
With one extremely notable exception.
Yeah. I mean, there is one. But I don't know, I just thought it was interesting. A lot of the males die very violently, and I feel like that had to be some kind of commentary about men.
Well, and then while I said that Henry doesn't have a moral compass, he kind of does.
I actually wanted to...
I misspoke there.
Yeah, he does a little bit. It's weird, and that's part of the interesting aspect of the movie is that dynamic between him and Otis. Yeah. Otis is the kind of guy that is just disgusting. You fucking hate him. He's just a piece of shit. The thing about Henry is that you see him so often kind of standing up for other people and being a nice guy, and it almost, you get this feeling that he just has to kill people. He's somebody that
he can't help it.
You never know when he might. Brandon said this earlier today. Actually, you never know when this guy could just kill you. And it has
on the verge of snapping the whole time,
and it makes you very nervous the entire movie.
Well, that's one of my favorite things about it is he's very unpredictable, and it's just kind of almost like a response. He's like, oh, gotta murder him right now. He just does it.
I think he's
there's a switch.
Two different people, kind of. I think
there's so many scenes where he's interacting with just average people, and you're like, Jesus Christ, are they gonna die? Is he just gonna kill him right now?
I think especially to the scene where he's buying cigarettes in a gas station.
Yes.
Nothing happens in the entire scene. Nothing at all.
But you're so nervous.
Good God, you think that somebody's gonna die.
It's so funny because it builds tension.
Yeah, let me talk about that because that scene stuck out to me. This is a very, very, very specific observation, but when he would talk, for some reason, I would just notice he would say "what" a lot. So if the gas station guy was like, "Do you want shorts or talls?" He'd be like, "What?"
It was almost like confrontational.
Do you want shorts or talls?
Yeah,
because I think it built the tension because you thought he was getting pissed off.
Yeah, exactly.
And that happens so many times.
They do the same thing in the scene where the sister is talking to him at the dinner table. And
and again later when he's with the lady with the dog.
He's like, "What?" And she's like, "It's a blah blah blah." He's like, "Oh."
Yeah,
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Another thing about that is that like with him, you know, he doesn't savor the kills.
No.
Once Otis is kind of starting to become his accomplice, Otis is fucked up.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Otis
He clearly
is
enjoys
loving it. He's getting all this sick pleasure from it.
Right.
And you constantly see Henry sort of stop him from
He's always
having
kind of disgusted by it.
it's interesting because Henry seems almost disgusted by Otis. Like
That was interesting. Yeah.
when Otis, after they killed this this family of people.
That is
And,
the single most brutal scene.
Well,
Oh, absolutely.
bring
I
that
don't
up.
want to spoil it too
keep
much.
Going, yeah.
But Otis is getting this sick, just fucking pleasure out of it, and Henry is just like, "What are you doing? Like,
Right.
He's
we're
yelling at
leaving."
him.
He gets
But
pissed.
What's interesting about that scene is that prior to that, he's saying, "Get it, Otis, get it, have fun," or whatever. Like he's
Yeah,
egging him
no, I
on,
think-
and then there's a switch.
Yeah.
And so like this whole thing is about. I mean, it's a character study about this character who
Yeah.
is just unhinged, but also really, I don't know, really put together too.
He seems very normal on the
I think he's
surface.
two different people. I
Yeah.
swear he's got this like gentlemanly side to him. This very like like this
and
gentleman
and what's
side to
interesting
him.
is you never really know what's genuine. Like
No.
he's constantly
lies a
lying
lot, yeah.
throughout the movie, and I think that that's something that is like isn't that like a common trait of
sure, like a
psychopaths?
sociopath or whatever.
But anyways, yeah, it's interesting that you never really know whether what he's saying is true. Like when he's talking about his mom, you never find out. Like if he did have some involvement in his mother's death. It's very interesting.
He talks a lot about killing his mom, but we never actually know if it's true or not. He could just be lying, just to be dramatic.
I mean, he lies about the method, but he could just be lying about it in general. too.
True.
It's not clear.
One of the things that I think that is kind of like a theme is just the subtlety of it all. Like he's a very normal guy. 90% of the movie, it's like a day in the life. And then when things do happen that are violent, it's very unnerving. And I said to Matt when we were watching that it was actually one of the most gruesome movies I'd ever seen. And not because there's a lot of violence or people are being killed in really gruesome ways, but just because it seems so believable.
Yeah.
It's almost like a Tin Can Man, like it could happen, right? And you're just watching these scenes, and it just makes me think of like funny games where you have a fixed camera, it just sits there, and you're just like watching this
The
gruesome
whole
scene
thing is
unfold.
thoroughly unsettling.
That's what's
It's
interesting.
disturbing. I mean, it really is disturbing.
Is the fact that they have basically this is essentially like a lot of a found footage movie.
Yeah.
I know.
And they did that in such a clever way, a way that's way more clever than most movies nowadays do. The found footage aspect of that is terrifying.
I know,
Yeah.
it's so good.
They get their hands on a camera basically, and you're
own
watching.
gruesome means.
Yeah, exactly. You're watching their home video of them murdering people, and the thing is, again, like Henry is kind of watching it afterwards, but really it's Otis, and he's fast forwarding
Yeah, he
and
enjoys it.
slow mowing through
Slow
it.
mo, yeah, he's watching it in slow mo.
Yeah, it's creepy as hell. Otis is fucked up.
Honestly, I think he's the scariest character in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
But that said, though, he doesn't feel as real as Henry. He's more cartoonish.
Yeah.
And I think that the places where I actually lose the movie a little bit are where Otis... I mean, this movie is incredibly subtle. Everything about it's really subtle, except for Otis. And he sticks out a little bit because of that. But I think he's necessary to the film, and I wouldn't have him taken out or really altered in any way. It's a little bit of a tonal shift just with that character.
I feel like
he's kind of the pivot point for a lot of the action that happens.
Yeah.
I feel like the dynamic between Henry and Otis is a lot like it's sort of trying to make you think which one of them is
crazier.
more insane, and it's
so
hard
weird.
to say. It's hard to tell.
I was going to say,
because-
I loved that dynamic.
Yep, the dynamic of the two of them is
Right.
so good.
Because you know what? Their dynamic was actually very real just compared to actual friendships. Like, there's times
Right.
where you wonder, are they going to literally kill each other?
Yeah.
But
It's just like us.
it really
exactly.
is. It's very real. It's very meta. But except you're dealing with two serial killers instead of
Yeah,
just regular
exactly.
people.
Well, then I think what we haven't talked about is the sister, who I think is the most important component of this movie.
Sure, yeah.
Right.
She is Otis's sister, who comes to visit basically and is just kind of living with two serial killers unbeknownst to her. And her bond that she forms with Henry is really strange.
Right.
I think they both had, these messed up childhoods,
Yeah.
and but even then, does Henry really bond with her? I don't know. It's hard to
There's
say.
a brilliant line in it that I can't say because it just kind of gives away near the end of the movie. But the way that he handles the relationship with her is
Sit in the car.
when they're talking about
Right, yeah.
I really thought I was gonna end there. The only beef I have with their relationship, and it was like glaring to me when I was watching it. They're at the kitchen table and they're having a conversation, and like I don't know. Like in real life, you're having a long conversation with somebody. Maybe after a long enough time, you'll start to have these deep,
in depth. It was a little early.
These in-depth revelations were like, oh, well, something traumatic happened to me as a kid, but it was very forced in this scene, and it just
I agree.
See,
like, hey, can you hand me a beer? Let me crack it open. Oh my god, I was raped as a child. Like it evolved very quickly.
I actually disagree. I think that like. I bet she actually probably tells tons of people that.
Yeah.
It seemed like she has her own issues that she's working through.
Her character was really emotionally vulnerable.
To me, it felt like that was part of her character. She's like Dylan just said, she's extremely vulnerable. Henry is the exact opposite. It's almost like two winding paths. They both were abused as children, and Henry became the opposite, almost the opposite of vulnerability. He's this person that's completely removed from humanity, and then you have the sister who is a very, very empathetic, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
She's very quick to try to empathize with people.
Sure.
She picked the wrong guy, but
she really
maybe it's just my opinion of how she delivered it, but it seemed very unnatural. Like if I was having a conversation with this girl,
in some ways,
I would have thought it was odd.
I don't think she's your average person.
Sure.
Neither is he. They're two freaks.
Those
sitting
shots
at the table.
in general, I know exactly what you're talking about, and this was something I observed too. The shots in general were almost too much to where it was like a close-up as close can be. And it would stick there for no joke 20, 30 seconds at a time of just these characters talking. And I was like, maybe that's almost too much pressure on these actors. I mean, and maybe
I think
that's
the acting was pretty strong in this
good.
movie
Speaking
overall.
of acting, we have to mention, Michael Rooker's performance of this is astounding. It's really good.
He definitely carried the shit out of this movie.
Yeah. And not
the guy that did Otis was good, too.
Yeah, not to say that anybody else is not good.
I think they're all very good.
It's all pretty good acting.
I'm not trying to say that.
But Michael Rooker just kills it.
Yeah, he was
he's-
good.
No pun intended. He's really, really good. And I was reading a little bit afterwards about it, and apparently he was in character the entire time he was on set.
That's
so
terrifying.
That's an
the
acting.
makeup artist and everything was like freaked out just trying to get put.
You know
makeup
what?
on.
I can believe that.
You can tell
though.
he takes it seriously. I don't know. He just seems so aggressive. Like I don't know. He's like he just seems very into it. For like a Christian Bale or something in one of his movies where he method acts or does something stupid and ridiculous.
He's also a really funny guy. Like half of the other roles he's had are really funny.
Yeah,
That's why I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, it's completely straight. Like just this guy's a killer. It's creepy.
Speaking of the shots that Devin was talking about earlier, I loved some of the camera work in this movie. Like for instance, the very first scene just gave me a total boner. Like we have this camera. It's
Did
like
any
on the
part of this movie give you a boner? I worry
kinda
about you.
fucked up, dude.
I had a boner the whole time.
Wait a second.
No, for real. If you get an erection in this movie, you're a freak.
Pretty much.
Tell us the shot.
But anyway, the very first, I think it's the very first shot. You have a camera. It's like very low on the ground. You have this guy walking across the street. We haven't established who's who yet.
Right, yeah.
And all you see is legs, and you're just like, this is the main guy. Like they established it based on like how they're pointing up at him, and they only shoot him from the back at the very beginning. We don't see his face for a long time, so it just creates like this very ominous figure. I thought it was very cool to demonstrate who this person is, what they're like, without saying who he is.
Whoever shot this movie or directed it was very talented, and there were shots that were literally like out of a Michael Mann movie, like a Heat or a Miami Vice. The one I'm referring to specifically is in the car scene. There's a shot of them driving for a good 15-20 seconds, maybe longer, maybe a minute, and it's got the rear view mirror in it. And and it's a really neat kind of like a very peaceful shot.
Well, the other stuff this guy directed is nothing like this. I don't know if you looked into that much.
This was like his only big movie, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I can't remember his name.
It was something really silly, I remember, but I can't believe that.
Lustig.
No, that's Maniac.
Oh, whoops.
No,
Nice try though, Dylan. Nice support.
reading what it was on the screen.
It's John McNaughton actually.
There you go.
And I actually feel like he's done other stuff. Or
I
he's
looked him
going
up. He really hadn't
No.
done much else.
Nothing
Yeah,
big.
he did. Oh god, he did like some. It has a name like the Goonies, but it's
The
what
Goonies.
is it?
Yeah,
No, it's
Goonies.
not
The Goonies.
It's not the Goonies.
Yeah, it's totally good.
It has a goofy name like that.
That's surprising though. I feel like this
Nothing
movie was
else.
so well made.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know, I don't want to like go too far away, but just watching this movie, it surprised me that this movie is not very well known. I'd literally never heard of it.
It is, as far as like cult circuit goes, it's pretty well known.
Yeah,
But that's what I'm saying, like, it got me thinking, right? You have a lot of these movies from the 80s that have like bubbled up and become legendary, right? And I would have a really hard time pitting them against this movie and saying those are unequivocally better.
right.
So it just kind of makes me think, like, what makes a movie, shine and outlast other movies and become way more famous? I don't know.
I was thinking of The Borrower, which
That is a
Look at the
goofy
cover art.
Dear Lord, I kind of want to watch it.
Oh man.
That looks horrifying.
I think
An alien serial killer. Oh,
to your point, Blutzer, the thing that works so well about this is just how real this whole thing feels.
Yes.
And I've seen a lot of movies that have tried to do like docudrama type stuff where, you know, they cut the line between how real it is, and this one does it better than just about anything else I've seen.
I can't.
And it's not that you at any point think this is a real movie. Like, it's not
Sure,
based on
it's
a true
not
story
played
or any
like
of that
that,
shit.
yeah.
It's just that it is so real.
It is very
Everything about it.
biographical, like you said earlier.
I think a lot of these movies are very much like that, and that's why I guess we can get into it now. We should go with our reviews. One last thing I wanted to say was I recognize that name now, the director, John McNaughton, because there was a movie I was researching literally this week by this guy, and it's called The Harvest. And
Yeah, I just saw that.
Okay,
yeah.
I don't know if it's any good.
I didn't see the movie, but I just saw
Okay,
yeah.
it's just a weird coincidence because I remember being
It's just
like,
a movie about farming.
oh, okay. But anyway,
America's farm is getting eradicated.
it does seem like that he hasn't made much else, anything big, because even that movie had very mixed reviews. But we should probably get our reviews in.
Let's do
so,
it.
Manton, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, sure. This is a movie that is very dark and grim, but it does it in a way that it feels worth watching. It's not a movie where,
Spot on.
yeah, it's interesting enough that, you know, even if you don't necessarily dig the really, really dark subject matter, because it is really dark and, you know, it's depressing. There is really no happiness to be found in this movie. But it's worth watching because it really is. It's a portrait of a serial killer. It's a really interesting look into, you know, potentially the mind of someone like this. And I think it actually is based on a real guy.
It is
Henry Lee Lucas. Yeah. I don't know
But
how
they don't say that.
Sure, right?
No, they don't. And that's I'll be there for it.
Yeah, exactly. They don't try to sell it to you like this true story. Obviously, I'm gonna go with a gem. It's a really interesting movie, even outside of the horror aspect.
I'm just getting the realization. Dylan was right. These are all very sobering movies. I'm like, man, there's not a lot of giggles and laughs in this cast so far.
Not at all.
These movies are very dark.
Yeah.
I feel like all of us have in turn become so sober.
Yeah,
it's like, Jesus
this one is hard to
Christ.
most of the movies in this one are hard to joke about.
Right.
But especially this one, because
Especially this
it's
one.
played very almost dry, and I don't mean that as a complaint or a dig against the movie. It's just it's so straightforward, and it's so it really hits you hard, but it's worth it because
So
it's
to placate our audience, is it a stinker or a gem?
it is a gem.
He
Yeah,
said
it's
gem.
a
There we go.
It's a gem.
And I'm gonna cut in there and give mine, and mine's very brief.
How dare you skip me?
I think Manton said it right. It's dark. It's got some very, very legitimately disturbing scenes, but it really, really is well made. It's good. It's a gem. So I'll pass it off to you now, Dylan. It's your
Oh,
turn.
hey, thank you. This is the feel-good hit of the summer. No, it's not. This is a really fucking depressing movie. And that said, my castmates, my boys, already said, my spooky boys,
Spooky
already
boys.
said,
My knob dogs.
It is really good. And it's worth watching despite the fact that it's gonna make you feel bummered out for quite a while.
Bummered out.
I mean, sorry, I'm not wordsmithing it well right now, but this movie's fucking good. Watch it, you dummy.
There you go.
It's a gem.
Listen, it's worth watching, and it's gonna bummer you out. So just be careful when you go into it. And finally, I'm sorry, Dylan. Finally, Blutster, man.
All right, I'm gonna keep it sweet. I'm gonna keep punctual. I think this movie is fucking amazing. I really enjoyed this movie. It has great cinematography. It has pretty darn good acting. Just some really creepy atmosphere, and I think this movie proves that you don't need violence or insane gore to be genuinely terrifying and unnerving. I think it's a gem, and I'd be so bold as to say it's probably better than 90% of the movies from the 80s, horror films I've seen. So I love this movie. It's a gem.
It's a real standout.
Yeah, it's good. So that's 4 gems. You guys heard it. So I would think it's definitely worth watching for you guys. Let's move on from that one to another very similar and disturbing movie. We'll do Sleep Tight. And Sleep Tight is a Spanish film by the director of Rec. If you guys have heard of Rec, it's a very, very highly praised Spanish movie. I think his name
remade as Quarantine in the U.S.
Yeah, it was remade as Quarantine in the U.S. And his name, I'm going to try it out. I think it's Juame Balaguero.
That doesn't sound right at all. I don't even know what it looks like.
You tried your best, yeah.
We tried, yeah. But anyway, Blutster, you take it away.
All right, Sleep Tight, Spanish. We got English subtitles.
Oh, did we?
Worth
Okay.
noting.
That's it.
I couldn't pay attention to the rest of it. That's it. I'm a Creighton.
Anyway, so we have this guy. His name is Cesar. Cesar. He is a like a bellhop or a concierge at a small hotel.
It's an apartment complex.
Is it apartment? Yeah, I couldn't
they live
decide
there.
if it was a
They
hotel.
live there.
He's like a
yeah.
landlord, basically.
Yeah.
Basically a landlord. He makes sure all the tenants are happy and things like that. Anyway, he is this guy. We kind of realized early on he's a little strange. He kind of gets some sick pleasures from other people's unhappiness. But anyway, his life is revolving around getting as close to as possible to his tenants and doing very subtle things that he can to kind of take a little bit of their happiness away.
Right.
He likes to see them frown.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the movie is revolving around him fixated on a specific girl because she's particularly joyful and he just can't seem to knock her down. So
Right.
she's basically the crux of most of the plot
As
line.
usual, Blutster's spot
He
on.
kills it. Man,
Yeah.
that was a good...
I started
was
out
good.
really strong there with English subtitles.
Yeah, once you got to that
That's
over.
language.
No,
No, it was a
that
really,
very
really good review or synopsis.
Good review. All right, we're done.
Good review. We're done. No, I think this one is another sobering movie along the same lines as the
Very
last one we watched,
sobering.
but it doesn't start that way, and that's
No.
what's interesting
No.
about this one. It is kind of there's moments of levity in this one,
Yeah.
and it does kind of play some things for laughs. I think about like the little girl
Oh,
character.
for sure, yeah.
She's
And
pretty
then-
awesome.
but
Yeah, I liked her.
it does all of this to disarm you because you don't realize how fucked up this movie is until it fully brings you down the rabbit hole.
Well, right at the beginning, it starts
Yeah.
very gentle. He's just kind of like, I don't know, saying little quips to people to
Yeah.
kind of like make them frown or just
Right.
like doing very subtle things to
You
people.
don't realize he's the bad guy.
Hey,
It takes you a while.
That's where I want to cut in. And this is just my opinion. I don't want to get into a big discussion about this. This, of the three movies, is, in my opinion, the most likable character as far as, like, literally likable.
I would totally disagree.
I think, no,
Well, hold on. I think I get what you're saying.
I'm like
I
literally
do too.
likable. Like he's like a very nice guy, and you really feel for him. And that's, in my opinion, you really feel for him, and you want him to be happy. And then another thing this movie does very well, it takes a very, very sharp, quick turn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Midway through of how you feel about this character, and it does it, in my opinion, masterfully, just like brilliantly.
I think the first time we watched this together, there was a moment where we all just kind of yelled, "Holy shit, we liked this guy!"
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like it is just 180.
I really
all of a
liked
sudden.
him.
But it makes total sense. It's not like it's
Well-
not a cheap switch or anything. Like
No.
it's earned. This
You don't even realize where it is almost.
yeah, and then it's just really
I
disarming.
think
Everything about
something
the
to point out is that like you do kind of like this guy is basically pulling
Yes.
these weird little pranks that throughout the first half of the movie he's fucking with these people and he's really creepy. I don't think we should like sell
No,
it as
no,
this.
no.
This guy's so
No,
great.
he's not a nice
No,
guy.
but
He's a
but
super
that's what's
fucking
so
weirdo.
Well done.
But he's really affable. Like you
Right. And it's
strangely that
mostly-
it might be in good fun.
At first, it's mostly harmless. Like one thing that he does, he releases tons of bugs into this
Yeah.
girl's apartment, and you're like, okay. I mean, like that's not deplorable.
He's
That's
just a little
not-
Grinch. You think he's just the
Yeah.
Grinch, and then you realize that he's a fucking
Then-
Krampus. He's a monster.
And he does have this element of creepiness because we should point out that this guy like has a thing about like the reason it's called Sleep Tight is that he hides under their
He
bed.
sleeps under their beds.
Yeah, and then he
which is terrifying.
and then he
Yes.
messes with them so that the next day it's like he's trying to indirectly cause them to hate their life as much as he hates his own life.
So that's why I think this movie is so well done, because we are seeing the most atrocious, fucked up shit this guy's doing, and as viewers, at
Writing
least
it off.
for me, we're just writing it off and we're cheering for him. And this is the scene specifically that I'll tell you what, without saying too much. There's a scene where he does this sleeping under the bed, and this girl's boyfriend comes in, and it's a scene of him trying to escape the scene basically without her boyfriend or this girl seeing him, and the whole time and I think the viewer is supposed to be rooting for this guy to get out.
Yeah, that was really interesting, and that scene is so well done.
Mm-hmm.
Like watching him like run from cover to cover, and like it's so intense. I was literally on the edge of my seat. I was
And you're
freaking
nervous
out.
for him, right?
Exactly, you are. But that's what's weird is that like even at that point, I didn't like the guy, but it does do a really good job of making you. It's a reversal because typically you would have those two characters and they would be
Yes.
freaking out because someone's in their house. Well, this time you're watching the guy in the house
Right.
and you're watching him trying to escape. It's almost like watching like Dexter or something where
Yeah.
you're hoping that he gets away.
Right.
But for me, like, I gotta say, like, the payoff in this movie is essentially non-existent, and when it does take the turn to really, like, this guy,
it probes some fucked up
this guy's fucked up.
Yeah.
And when it goes to that point, I don't care anymore, because, like, it's interesting as hell to watch this guy that's screwed up, but he's not truly, like, really violently hurting people. But once that kicks off,
What?
who do you care about? Who do you care about?
I'm with Manton, where we praise how good this movie is and how good the twist is, and I think it is. I absolutely do. But I'm with Manton that at the very end, when it truly takes the deepest depths that it plumbs, I feel like some of that's not earned.
Maybe, but before that, he does some pretty messed up stuff too.
I disagree.
But I'm saying the very end feels almost like a different character, and maybe that's the point, in that you're supposed to feel that this guy was somebody, or you thought that this guy was somebody he wasn't. But it does go a little too far.
Well,
I think
it seems like the movie's going to, like, a certain point of saying, like, you know, like, trying to tell you something, and then I don't think it really does. It's just that this guy's fucked up.
made me fucking sick to my stomach.
I knew from the beginning this guy was fucked up, and they even did that.
But
cinematic
again,
shots. There was, like, I want to point out specifically, there's a lot of shower scenes of this guy showering.
Yeah.
In the first half of the movie, it would show him showering, and he'd be very sad, and he'd be very bummed, and you're like, man, I feel for this. And then when shit started hitting the fan, and things started going his way, and people started getting unhappy, it would show him showering and be all happy all of a sudden, and like, all right, things are great, because he knows that he's succeeding.
I didn't want him to be happy.
I know. I thought that was great.
I mean, it might be smart, but like from a standpoint of, like, watching the movie, it might be clever, but it doesn't make me, like, enjoy it.
I personally was never rooting for this guy. Like, there was never any side of him that made me really that concerned whether he got out. Now, like, the scenes where he's in close situations, I was very tense, and they did a great job of building those tensions. But it wasn't because I was necessarily that worried about him being caught. I didn't really care about any of the characters.
I felt for him so much.
I'm kind of with Brandon too, because, like, I just wanted him to get caught in a lot of those scenes. Like, I was thinking that those scenes he would end up getting caught. I didn't really. I mean, I can see what you're saying. Like, they definitely bill him as sympathetic for a little while, but I don't think it's
second half. It's two different movies. I mean, it's two different things.
Well, but I don't care about him in either. That's what I'm saying.
In the second half, I was straight up like, this motherfucker needs to be caught immediately. The first half, I was like, this guy's fucked up. Of course, he's a terrible person, but I felt for him.
I feel like they were. So his whole thing is he's trying to knock people down so he can be happy. And I feel like they don't really sell that enough. They kind of bring it in, like, probably a quarter of the way through the movie.
No way.
Yes. Like, they don't even mention that before. Before there's a certain scene where I think he's talking to his mom or something, and they establish, like, what he's doing. Before that, you're just seeing him, like, play these pranks, and you don't really necessarily know why. I feel like if they're gonna...
You're calling them pranks as if they're fucking, like, putting shaving cream...
Well, no, that's what I mentioned.
That's how they sell them.
They do, and that's what I mentioned earlier, is that I wanted to point out, like...
But you know he's
it's
fucked
not
up.
Harmless. You know he's fucked up.
Yeah, he's definitely
But again,
fucked up.
at that point, you can still sympathize with him a little bit, because it's clear that he's a very troubled man, and, like, you know, it's taken to an extreme, but it's not taken to the point where he's murdering people, raping people, whatever. Then when it does finally take that turn, it's like...
Sorry, Dylan.
Yeah, well, I want to say that with this movie, and I've expressed in basically every cast that we've done that I have this issue with tonal shifts. This one doesn't bother me so much.
It's very gradual.
But because it is really gradual. It's like, you know, putting a lobster into boiling water immediately, or just, like, letting it simmer in there. I was kind of used to it by that point. But I will say that this is a movie that if you start to feel really fucking uncomfortable, like about halfway through, turn it off, because it's not going to get any better.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes... There are... Few movies make me just feel awful. This movie makes me feel
it's a
fucking
feel bad.
terrible.
It's a feel bad.
It's definitely a feel bad.
All three of these movies are fucking...
But no, this one specifically, amazingly so. Like,
at least
I felt...
But it doesn't have to use exploitative, like, visuals to do that, which I think is amazing.
But it ruined my world after I watched it.
I didn't really feel that bad, because I didn't really care about any of these characters.
Well, okay,
I did. I cared about the woman. Good God.
Let me make a counterpoint. As this movie ended with this life ruining thing thing you're talking about. When the credits rolled, literally everybody in the room stood up and started cheering and clapping.
You did.
No,
Why?
everyone.
What would you
I was thoroughly on the
I did
ground.
not do that.
Because the ending was so well done
How?
that everybody just loved it. I'm talking 15 people.
I mean, this happened. I didn't. I was just.
Were
kinda
you
like,
there?
Yes, I was just
But you
kind
saw us all
of sitting
high-
on the couch,
high
like,
fi-
ugh.
No, because it was just so well
felt
done.
grimy.
The music was great.
Why would you cheer
Yeah,
what
seriously.
happens at the end?
I was
so fucked up.
That's the reason I didn't stand up when you guys did that. It was weird as
Listen,
shit
guys,
that you did it.
It's like cheering at the end of a fucking tragedy because it was such a good.
Who does
fucking
that?
play. What do
I'm
you
not.
mean?
I'm not with you on this.
So
one.
hold on. I think what Devin's trying to
not a natural
say.
reaction.
Devin's trying to say that they thought that the movie was very well
was a
done.
really good movie.
They
Yeah,
weren't
yeah.
cheering what happened.
No, that.
But
Okay.
but the
How can you guys
dissonance
mistake that?
the dissonance there because you did that immediately after the movie ends, which is a shitty feel bad ending.
Yeah,
And you
but-
got up and cheered. I was like, a what?
No, but they edit it in a way to make it like whoa, like in your face with music and stuff, and it's done so well. And
Well,
don't
plus
call
it
me.
end-
Did you
Plus it
forget
ends
what
with
happened a
him.
minute earlier? I
What?
mean,
It ends with him. If we're being honest, it ends with him and
Yes.
his moment of happiness.
triumph.
And don't call me crazy. There was literally about 10, 15
No, I'm
people
calling
there.
all of them
I,
crazy.
they're all
I am
crazy.
too. I don't
Because it
understand
was so
that.
well done. It was
Bluster wasn't standing
we
up
were
because he was drunk as
applauding-
shit on the floor.
We were applauding the end of a great movie, just like The Mist, which The Mist is fucked up. But I love the ending, and it's great.
I
It's
mean,
that kind
the
of
mist,
thing.
the mist to me, I actually like a bit better. It's world ruining,
Oh, I like the mist a lot better.
but the ending of the mist feels
You guys-
tonally right.
You guys missed
This one,
something.
This
in
one just
man.
here's my
awesome.
issue. Here's my issue, and I know that the people on the or listening to the cast can't see my hand right now, but I'm basically doing like a roller coaster thing. The movie starts up as far as fucked up goes. Like it's normal, and then it goes plumbing into the depths of fucked up, and then it just goes past the bottom. Like at the end, it's
Under
just
the barrel.
yeah, under the barrel.
I disagree, man. I feel like you're overselling this.
I agree with Dylan.
I don't think it's that
No, it's
terrible.
fucked
I
up.
think it's super fucked up.
Whatever.
I'm
How
with
many
Devin
fucked
on
up
this.
movies have we seen?
It's not like
Right, but it's a
not
different
gore
level.
fucked up.
No,
it's
it's
not.
not.
It's not like super nasty killing fucked up. It is just like he literally ruins a person's life.
Oh wow, horror movie ruined life. I mean,
No,
come
I think it's
on.
more effective because
yeah.
of that, and I will give the movie all the props in the world for doing that. But this is not a fun movie to watch.
You guys are
As good as it is, I almost, and I know I don't want to get into their recommendations yet, but I almost can't because of what this movie is.
I
I'm
think
with
you guys
you.
are being so hyperbolic it blows my mind.
Maybe so, but
I-
okay, you know what?
I had a
Honestly,
harder
this
time-
ending, Devin, affects me more than a million different people getting
Okay.
massacred by
Well,
chainsaws.
I would actually believe that I had a harder time watching Henry than I did Sleep Tight.
Oh well, I mean, Henry is the same way, but to me, Henry earns those feelings,
Yeah.
and I don't think this
get
movie
out of
does.
here! How dare you?
Here's. I'm with man
that's
on this
what
one.
I think.
I think Devin's just getting upset. But here's my thing. Like, I don't think this movie is really that fucked up. He like this character is doing the best he can to torment people, and he succeeds. But my biggest problem with this movie is that your main guy, his happiness is inverse to everyone else's
Yeah.
happiness, right?
Right.
And yet they managed to make his character so flat the entire movie. Like, he's just progressively less or more
He
angry
has
and
no
upset.
arc.
And like he manages to take somebody down to the lowest rungs, and it affected Dylan, and he's messed up. But our main guy, he just smiles a little bit, and that's the peak of his happiness.
fuck him.
And so like
I think he did a
if-
great job.
if
no,
they're
I think
gonna
he's a great actor. I
Yeah.
think he did a great job.
Yeah, I
but
agree with
fuck
that,
him.
yeah.
I'm not commenting about the quality of any of the pieces. I'm just saying that him as a character just didn't like evolve enough for me. There was no arc. He didn't seem to progress to anything. He just
I agree.
had like a moment of splendor, I guess, and then it was over like that.
I'm actually right in between both of you guys on as far as his character arc. I think that they do a really good job of switching it on you.
Yeah.
And I think that his character is pretty well established, but it is pretty one note. I agree in that like his thing is to make people unhappy. He's the Grinch basically.
right.
And
He doesn't get his
past
rocks off
that,
enough.
yeah, is the ending deserved or not? We've debated on that. I don't know. I honestly think it's time for our reviews.
It's definitely time. So I was gonna I'll give it to you, Bluester, and then we'll go around.
Don't fucking skip me this time.
There's things I like about this, and there's a lot of things I don't like. One thing I want to say is that the movie is very well put together. There's lots of great music, great cinematography. The acting is great. I mean, it's a very well made movie, but I just don't know that I care about any of it. My main beef is the main guy. He's the guy we follow the entire time, and I never ever once found myself really being that concerned about his well-being. I didn't care if he was happy, but I will say that I really think it's very cool the concept they explored for like being unhappy and like how you get out of that slump. I have some personal friends who've told me that they can't possibly be happy, and it's just like this weird conundrum. So I thought that was pretty interesting, but I have to give this movie a stinker. I don't think I would ever watch it again.
All right, Manton.
I'm gonna echo a lot of what Brandon said. I mean, I think that one scene in particular where he's under the bed while the couple's having sex, so good. That whole sequence, not even just that first part where he's at night, but when he wakes up and he's in the shower, God, it's so good. But on the flip side of that, I had a really hard time giving a shit about really anything in the movie. It's so well done, and it is very clever, but I really don't know what to give it. I'm so on the fence. Honestly, I doubt that I would recommend this movie to really anybody. I'm probably gonna go stinker just because. And again, like, I'm so on the fence because there are things about this movie that are extremely well done, but overall, I just don't really care that much about it. So I'm gonna go stinker.
Devin, I actually want you to go first.
All right. Well, mine's going to be short and sweet. This one, in my opinion, is the best of the three we're reviewing tonight. I think it's probably the best killer sympathy movie I've ever seen. So, of course, I'm going to give it a gem. And Dylan, have you had enough time yet?
Yeah. So I echo basically what everybody says. And that doesn't make my position very easy on this one. But I understand why this movie's good. It is a really good movie. It's exceptionally well put together.
It's a well-made movie, a very well-made movie.
It is beyond original. I've never seen another movie do what this does. But what it does makes me feel horrible. And I mean, like, just the visceral reaction I get to this movie is it hurts. It's a painful movie. And I can't recommend it, but it's a gem.
So are we going to give Dylan flack for this one next
I
week?
totally get what you're saying.
It's a really good movie.
I get what you're saying.
I would watch
too,
it if you're ready to have your world ruined, but I can't recommend it to really anybody because, I mean, you can't sell this movie in a particular way because the ending comes out of fucking nowhere.
I agree.
And just blindsides you with how awful it is.
I'm so on the fence. I'm so on the fence.
But I feel like you guys are really, really overstating this, and people are because we gotta.
I don't think so.
Can I just say there's a fucking scene in this where he tells an old woman she'll never be loved?
Yeah. Oh well. There's also a scene in
Right.
a Serbian film where somebody fucks his own kid.
Yeah,
Like,
which is why I don't want to watch a Serbian
so
film.
that's my point. I'm saying. You guys are giving this like the reputation that it's going to be a movie like a Serbian film.
No,
it's not even close to that kind of shit.
It's not
even
that kind of
close.
gratuitous bullshit. It's
Yes.
a well put together movie, and the ending I think is in some ways earned, but I hate it.
Okay, that's all I wanted. I didn't want to like.
That's what I've been saying.
I didn't want to argue about it. I'm saying we have to like the listeners have to know it's not something that's going to be so graphic and messed up.
It's not graphic.
The ending is not. It's literally not graphic.
The thing is,
at all.
it's not graphic, but it's so psychologically
Sure.
Everything
fucked
that's implied
up.
is
Okay.
just horrible.
Yeah,
good. It's not a Serbian film.
it's
Don't
not
worry.
graphic. I'll say that, but it's super fucked up, and I don't think there's any denying that.
Yeah, sure. I guess. I don't know. I guess I disagree. But anyway,
You
we're
disagree
done
with
here.
my gym. Okay.
No. I definitely agree with that.
Take it back,
You can
Dylan.
never be happy. You're just like this dude in this movie.
All right, that's 2 gems and 2 stinkers. Finally, that's going to leave us with one more killer sympathy movie, and that is Maniac from 1980. Who wants to take this one?
I think I'm gonna take that one, Devin.
All right.
So this
Thanks,
is.
Dylan.
I always get to
Thanks.
these movies where there's not a whole lot to say. This is a movie about Frank, who is an insane person that has major mommy issues that wants to kill every woman he can find. I guess I don't really know exactly.
Some
what
men
his-
too.
Seems that way.
Sometimes, yeah, you don't really know exactly what he's up to. Basically, this is a guy who goes around and scalps people and places their hair on a mannequin. And that's the main story to it. I don't
If there's
know.
any hair left over after he's
Right,
done.
exactly. We were actually questioning, like, would he kill a bald person? Like, would he bother?
Don't
We
worry,
need a
you're
bald
safe.
scalp.
If you're bald, you're safe. I don't know. But anyways, I actually really like this movie. I thought it was really good.
A lot of the arc is exploring why does he take their hair?
Is it?
Something interesting about this movie is that he and it's hard to really explain why, but he comes across as more insane than probably anybody I've ever seen in any movie.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of that is the guy that plays him is very
It's like Ron Jeremy.
yeah, he looks disgusting, and like He probably smells disgusting too. Like Brandon said that
Smell the
earlier.
part.
This is what I did really like about this movie is the fact that it does not glamorize really anything in this, despite being kind of like an 80s trash exploitation film.
It is, yeah.
It doesn't glamorize
But
the stuff, although it does glamorize some of the violence, like the actual lifestyle, the methods of killing.
Oh,
everything.
man.
It's just gross.
You get so disgusted by this guy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And you're right. It is. It sells itself as like a typical slasher, like gore everywhere. If you watch the trailer, that's what you're gonna think you're getting into. It's not like that. And that's not to say the movie is not exciting. I found this movie to actually be scary, genuinely scary at points.
There are points.
I was really legitimately nervous multiple times during
The bathroom scene is phenomenal.
Oh my god!
I had to look away during parts of that.
Yeah.
Like Man was saying, if you watch the trailer and you take all the parts out where he kills people, that looks, or if you use those as your trailer, it looks very much like a typical slasher. But like 90% of the movie is actually just following him around and kind of exploring his character. So it's very weird when you have these, I think it's interesting where you have these scenes where he's going to attack somebody and it switches roles into like a traditional slasher film. So it's very dynamic.
It does, exactly. There's a lot of times where you're following him, but oftentimes when he's stalking his victim, it almost switches to a traditional slasher style perspective.
So you know exactly who's stalking them. It's just you don't want him to catch up.
Yeah,
right. You're kind of rooting for the victims, even though they're not the main characters.
Yeah, constantly.
And I will say that like we put this in our sympathy for the killer. I was about to say devil. Sympathy for the killer episode, and it's the least sympathetic portrayal.
Yeah,
by far.
I would say
so. This guy's
because and like with Henry, and this movie and Henry are actually have a lot of similarities. I would say Henry, you kind of see this side to him of there's like in Henry there's a point where he prevents something terrible from happening to the sister, and there's a lot of things you see from Henry that are very, you want to kind of cheer for him, even though you know he's a killer. This movie probably is the least sympathetic.
He's like the killer that you'd want to take home to mom because, there's something good in him. You can turn him around. He's a fixer-upper.
This guy's
just trash.
Maniac is the right word for this movie. This guy is a maniac. Yeah.
This guy really sells it. I don't know if it's just how great the actor was or the writing he was in,
good.
But he not only does he physically look disgusting and deformed. Sorry if you're still alive, bud. But
he wrote it, so he knew what he was getting.
Yeah,
he literally wrote the role for himself, I guess. But like, there's all these scenes where he's like making these weird groaning sounds. He's running around, and he has all these kind of like internal monologues where he's just saying the most disgusting shit. A lot of times he just like talks to himself, and and
it doesn't make sense. I mean, they sound like lunatic ravings.
Yeah, they do.
Perfect.
That's what's like so.
Not like somebody who's writing a lunatic, like an actual lunatic.
When he's laying in bed with these mannequins and he's just raving about his mom and about all this crazy stuff, and you never get it fully explained.
Connection, yeah.
But it's clear that this guy had some serious trauma throughout his life. And the one I want to talk about that amazing scene with Tom Savini in it.
Oh, God.
I think you know what I'm talking about.
It's in the trailer, which is a bad move.
Yeah,
luckily I didn't watch the trailer.
I didn't either. But I wanted to talk about when you see him, he's stalking this couple that are in their car,
right?
And he's standing out in the fog, and you can barely see him. And it sits there for so long, and then suddenly he runs full speed, which you've never seen him do in this movie. Nothing like that.
Yeah.
And jumps onto the car, and he's huge and massive, and he's holding the shotgun, and it stays on him for so long, that shot with the shotgun, and you know what's about to happen. He just blows Tom Savini's head off. It's insane.
That one seems like, other than how crazy it gets near the end of that scene, like, it seems so Zodiac, like, kind of realistic. Like, that's what's weird about this movie, is that so much of it's really realistic. Like, the stalking portion's really realistic and everything, but then the way he kills people is just fucking nuts. Like, 80s slasher movie nuts.
My thing is, I feel like, and I don't know if this is just, maybe I'm like building this aspect up in my head, but it seems like this movie has so much more depth to it than most of the movies like this.
Yeah.
I felt like there was so much more being said by this movie, which I appreciated. I mean, it's nice to have all the, insane, like, special effects, the guy's head blowing up and all that stuff. But it's great when there's like some substance behind that to kind of latch onto. And I actually really enjoyed the end of this movie. I thought this movie ends very, very well. The last few seconds, especially, like,
this movie is in a lot of ways identical to Don't Go Into the House.
Yes, we were talking about that actually.
Identical,
but this is so much better.
I personally,
at least the same year, weren't they?
Very close,
very
if not
close,
the same.
Yeah, it'd be the same year.
I think Don't Go in the House came out after.
No, it was 79, I think, and I think they shot it in 79 and it came out in 80.
And now that you say it, like the whole thing about him, like towards the end, being haunted by his victims and all the mom stuff, they're very similar. This movie to me is way better. However,
I think these movies were made so close in time that they didn't even realize.
Yeah, I won't argue that Maniac's a better movie. It is a better movie. I almost kind of like Don't Go in the House a little better.
That's
kind of charming.
I liked it.
It's a little charming, and Maniac is just not. It's off-putting.
I don't know. I like it because his character's so interesting. There's a lot going on, at least for me, and I think that it establishes kind of, to some extent, why he's so insane.
I don't think it does at all.
I don't either.
I disagree.
I disagree too.
There's so many scenes where he's just sitting there talking to himself. He's having like internal
monologues. Why the fuck is he collecting
but
scalps?
Exactly. It doesn't explain his backstory at all. They kind of mention like he might have had a fucked up mom or whatever, but that's it.
It's not like his mom scalped
but I'm okay with it not being explained.
Yeah,
they don't outwardly tell you. They don't show you a scene. It's like if you guys watch the new Maniac, they very much do this. They're like, here's the scene where he gets fucked up. Here's the next scene where he gets even more screwed up.
I really don't want to watch the new Maniac after seeing this.
I think you need to watch it. But I'll talk about it later if you want. But I think that even though it's not outward, I think there's a lot of scenes that establish why he might have motivations to do these things.
I will say this feels like
I don't think so.
I don't think so because this whole movie like it's just bits and pieces of various Maniacs like that don't fit together. You get the weird like hair shit which comes out of nowhere. Like, not connected to anything, although it makes for really cool visuals.
It does. Totally disagree.
But then you get like the Norman Bates type shit with like the mom, which is one of the biggest missteps I think in the movie is the moment where like he has this voiceover of his mother in his head or whatever. It sounds so fucking goofy compared to everything else that's happening.
Oh well, the kid that acts in that is
that was really funny.
Yeah, I mean even like that idea is really dumb in that. Because it's just not done anything with it. But I think that the best like crazy killer portion that they do with it is the fact that he's just totally normal at parts.
Yeah. He switches it on and off so easily. It's like Henry taken to an extreme, where Henry can be like a nice guy, and then he like just loses his shit at any moment. This is kind of the opposite. This guy is absolutely nuts, but he's also apparently an incredible actor because he convinces this woman that he's an artist and
like a woman who's totally out of his league. Too.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Out of his Ron Jeremy.
And he somehow he like he can just switch on this social skill. It's weird.
But it's for like nearly 30 minutes where he's just normal.
And I want to talk about that part because honestly, like that was like my one thing that I didn't really.
I like it best.
Well, I liked it. I liked that stuff, but it did kind of drag.
It does.
There's a point in the movie where it starts to drag a little bit because it's interesting to watch this guy who's utterly insane, but once he starts acting completely normal, there's a couple moments where I was like nodding off. I was like,
I get that, but I think that it makes the switches seem all the more violent and weird.
I think they probably should have done it earlier.
Yeah,
to establish it, make it seem more natural.
That's what I thought. Like as soon as they introduce this woman character, like they just don't even introduce her. She's just there.
Yeah,
that was kind of messed up.
Who is this?
Right.
And suddenly he's Frank, like an actual person, not just the guy who's been killing people for a solid 45 minutes.
For me,
sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry. For me, like what makes this movie cool is that it hits both of those notes. It hits the notes of I can find something interesting to kind of like some substance to this movie. But it's also got the insanity. It's got those Tom Savini special effects. It's got all that stuff.
Right.
I don't know. It hits the right notes for me.
But in some ways, it also feels like a paint by numbers sort of thing.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Like,
that's
here
fair.
are the things that make a maniac. Put them in this movie.
Okay, that was gonna be my point. I feel like they made a list of all the tropes of somebody being crazy, and
which is weird that in 1980 they already figured those out.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah.
Well, maybe this was the first one to do it.
I disagree. One of the things that I noticed is that this movie is 1980. It very much feels like a 70s movie. It just feels back in the 70s, man. They just didn't play games, man. They didn't fuck around. Their killers in the movies were just literally insane, just murdering shit.
Yeah, I get that. Like we don't need a big backstory or anything.
No tongue in cheek, anything to it. Yeah.
No.
But what's crazy is that despite all those things, we still follow him. He is our main character, despite how crazy. And that's where I think this movie feels so unique. I feel like I've never seen a movie like this because although it does go into those sort of generic places that a lot of these movies go into, it has this very unique feel. And I'm actually shocked that I have never seen it until now because it's like, I'm surprised it's not more popular.
Well,
that's exactly what I think.
I think the reason it's not more popular is because there's nothing to identify with in this movie. It's just fucking weird.
That is true, but I also think that it's billed completely wrong.
Sure.
Because like anytime I've seen anything for this movie, it looks like it's going to just be a very generic, very straightforward
cheesy
slasher,
slasher.
and I don't think it is.
I think that's exactly why it didn't do well.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot more going for it than that.
It got a
Personally,
remake. I mean, clearly people like
Well,
it.
it got a remake because it's like a cult classic.
Sure,
like,
I guess.
that horror directors love
I would love for you
Yeah.
guys
for
to
good
watch
reason.
the
I think
remake.
it's a good movie.
But anyway, one of my favorite aspects to this movie is that the kills in it are great. There's some good ones, but they don't like stand out.
They really don't.
Not that much. And
I don't know that
shotgun.
Tom
Okay,
Savini
that one
one's
was
insane.
100%, of course.
and the ending,
absolutely
the
insane.
ending,
Yes.
was crazy.
But anyway,
Also, really out of place.
right.
I disagree, but anyway.
Wait. Let me finish my point. The point I was
that's
trying to make is that as far as scariness goes and like terror moments or whatever, the scariest parts of the movie for me involved nothing about killing. It was
Yeah.
him in his hotel room or his apartment or
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh, it's
Sure,
right.
fucking weird.
Are those? Would you guys agree? Those
Super
are like
unsettling.
the scarier moments of
Yeah.
the movie.
I
a lot
actually
of the
disagree,
scenes
but-
are the scary scenes for me were following his victims.
Okay.
Same.
Yeah, I think the bathroom scene especially jumps out there.
Sure.
But I do want to lend credence to your point there about the like his a hotel or apartment.
apartment.
Right,
Where,
right.
like,
Apartment.
there's one specifically where he kind of turns around and he goes, "I'll be back later, don't worry." Like
Yeah.
to his mannequins,
Oh
and you're
my
just like,
God,
For
"What
I
me,
the
know.
fuck?"
that was the most unnerving because I've
Yeah,
seen
the scenes were
I've
really
seen a million
creepy.
slashers of people getting followed by a killer, and that is something I haven't seen of just a psychopath. Just with the sound design, and the music,
Yep.
and the creepy talking to the mannequins.
I mean, the guy almost
And-
doesn't seem to be acting in those parts.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really-
That's what's really weird about it. It
Yeah.
seems too natural for him.
yeah.
And we gotta love that groan track throughout the entire movie. You
Right.
seriously just hear him go.
It's basically like what Bloopster does on our
I
cast.
love. That's why I really connected with this movie.
I also really like the scene with the other artist woman in her home when he's in her
Right.
house. That it is so generic, but something about it like scared me. I don't know what it was. Something felt unique about it.
Well, the
but
part
anyway.
where he's talking to her on the bed is.
Yes, that was so fucking weird and creepy.
I just want to say, if you guys do see the new Maniac, there's a lot of. It's very similar to this movie, and there's a lot of scenes that are almost identical, but they change them very subtly. And I feel like it was like a little throwback to the people who had seen the original Maniac.
From what I've heard about the new Maniac, it's just hyper gory.
Oh
Yeah,
I
yeah,
heard
that's-
it's pretty fucked up.
Ultra violent. It's mind.
And I think this one, where it is kind of hyper gory for its time and everything, it holds up well because it is kind of understated. Like it's all the build up.
there's. I'm telling you, like there is substance to this movie.
Yeah.
Like anyway.
All right, let's get our reviews going. We'll start it off with Dylan.
This one is actually one that I watched it about an hour and a half ago, 2 hours maybe.
Damn.
Like on my way here. Not on my way here. That would've
while
been
driving,
dangerous.
had
Yeah,
the
that
TV
would've
out the
been dangerous.
window. Just
Whoa, what the hell? Woo. No, I just watched it and I wasn't really shot in the head with it. And waka waka. I don't know. I think I was gonna give it a stinker, but having actually
Really?
talked about it with you guys, I'm like, you know what? This movie is actually pretty damn good.
We
It
should've
would be
watched
a
it
true
together.
injustice to give this a stinker. I don't know that it's totally worth watching altogether. It's good. I mean, I understand why it's good. I understand why some people might enjoy it, but I can't say that it's an enjoyable movie, really, for anybody. It's just a strange one. It's just odd.
God damn.
Odd gem.
It's been a rough.
So is that a
night.
stinker or a gem?
No, it's a gem, but I don't know how I feel about this movie. It's weird. It's
Yeah.
a polarizing one.
All right,
I think that's totally fair.
let's go, Blitzer.
I'm gonna try not to go too long. I very much like this movie. I think it is a proto slasher with all the background and other world development that you would actually expect from any other movie. So I
Yeah.
feel like it brings that to the slasher genre. I think it's genuinely scary, lots of cool effects. And I just want to say that we can talk about it after, but I think that the mannequins and the hair issues and a lot of his backstory, I think, is more established than you're giving it credit for. I think that the character is a lot more
Mom locked him in a closet. That's all they say.
I think it's more interesting than that. Maybe I'm a maniac. But anyway, I think this movie is a gem. I think it is a damn travesty that this movie didn't have any kind of real acclaim. It's overshadowed by,
That's fair.
like Friday the 13th, which is a great movie, but I think has a lot. I don't know. We'll talk about that later, but it's a gem.
This is a better movie than Friday the 13th is, for sure.
Maybe. And I don't even like Friday the 13th. Anyway, I will go in now, and I will say that I enjoy this movie. I enjoy the era. I've talked about this a million times. It just hits the right chords for me, this era. This movie is great, and I really enjoyed it. So, Jim, Manton.
God bless,
Brandon-
that was brief.
Woo!
Brandon actually mentioned something. He mentioned world building. something I really liked about this movie was the fact that like he was kind of looking in the newspaper and see that was so clever. And then like people were hearing on the radio about this maniac and everything. I thought that was super clever, and it made the movie feel larger than it actually was. I like that element a lot. Anyway, I've already gushed a lot about this movie. I think it's really good. Probably my favorite one that we watched this week. It's a gem.
That is 4 gems.
Woo-wee.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
4 gems. There we go.
Where to go from there?
That's it. All right. Good night.
Well, we'll see you next week. All right. No. You guys aren't getting off the hook that easy. You know we're going into a game. Let's finish this off with a game. And we're going to do the quote game.
Oh, God.
Where you guys got to decide whether this quote or this review or whatever.
Is that IMDb quotes or?
They're IMDb user reviews.
Yes.
You got to decide whether it's for the movie we watched or for a completely different one.
Cool.
Are you guys up to the challenge right now?
Oh, you know it.
Oh, my mind is sharp and I'm ready.
I feel like we need something to lighten the mood. Jesus, those movies were... Oh, man.
Maybe a fart?
Thanks for that. It did help a little bit.
I feel like that almost went backwards, and I don't know.
I feel like if I can get everyone in the cast to hate
it.
me, that'll pull your energy away from the movie.
It's all right. I already do.
Perfect.
Well, I guess since we have Maniac fresh in the brain right now, you guys ready for this?
Sure, let's do it.
Front track.
All right. Here we go.
Devin, you're a wreck.
All right, no, sorry. Let me try.
Pack it in, buddy. You're done.
Wreck the movie before quarantine?
Wow, here we go. God bless. Sucking diarrhea through a hole.
No wonder he couldn't start it.
It's tough. Oh, sucking diarrhea through a hole in a sweaty sock for 2 hours would probably be more palatable than this pile.
Wow.
That's
Is that Ebert?
That's the first quote. Oh,
Jesus.
So we got to decide.
R.I.P.
So we got to decide: is that for Maniac or is that?
No. I'm the next one. Let me get the next one
There's
first.
two.
Okay.
All right, the next one. If you want story, not just a gory sleeping pill, then avoid this at all cost. I give it the crap-o-lantern, which is funny. Like,
Nice gem there.
Are we supposed to know what that is?
Gem or a stinker? That's basically his version. It's a stinker.
Crap-o-lantern.
What's the gem portion of that?
What?
Jack-o'-lantern? I
don't know. Jim-o'-lantern, probably.
Jim-o'-lantern.
Oh no.
So which one's which, guys? Which one's for the Maniac?
I think the second one.
I want to say the first one because I can see somebody having that violent reaction to this movie.
I guess
I'd say first one as well.
All right. It is the first one. The second one is for the Maniac remake.
That's dirty.
So man was
That's a trick.
technically correct.
Maybe. Sucking diarrhea through a hole in a sweaty sock for 2 hours.
I just can't believe you'd have such a visceral reaction to this
can't
movie.
either.
Hey, I don't either, but maybe.
I don't know. I
That was
don't get it.
ridiculous.
Or that reaction. Who the hell has that reaction?
Oh, Lord, that was rough. All right.
Somebody has a very putrid mind. This is
God,
what they think
gross.
up.
All right, let's go with Sleep Tight next. The first one, Sleep Tight. Are you dead yet? No?
What?
Then turn back now. This movie is a waste of your time, and you will regret it. Just as much as you regret your college one-night stand with the fat chick from Bio because you were hammered out
How
the
did he
asshole.
know about that?
This is the shittiest review.
That guy sucks. Fuck that guy.
I give that review a stinker.
Your
That review gets just
one
two
night stand
fucking
with the
stinkers.
fat chick from Bio
Damn.
because you were hammered out the
Oh,
asshole.
good job, bro.
Second review. Lame. Not only that,
I thought that was just gonna be it.
no,
Like,
but that is funny. He says lame. Not only that, and then he continues. Not only that.
he probably wrote like a huge paragraph before that, and we're like,
Just
oh,
deleted
fuck
it
it,
down the
lame.
line.
And then, of course, he had to follow that up.
But he says, but no nudity. If you're making
Oh, damn.
if you're making a horror film with
Oh
no
my
story
God.
or theme or plot, show some tits.
Oh my god.
Nothing.
That's
Not
all this
even,
guy can think
Is
of.
this the bro section of
Nothing.
IMDb? This is horrible.
Nothing. Not even a nipple through a wet T-shirt. Those are your two reviews.
I like to think that this guy goes into every movie expecting tits, and that he went into like the Iron Lady, the Meryl Streep movie about Margaret Thatcher, just expecting tits.
This is probably the same guy, if we're being honest. He
Probably
wrote both
so.
reviews.
about the same movie.
I have no idea.
They both sound awful, and I don't care.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
This is that shows how I felt about Sleep Tight. I just don't care.
Ooh, shots fired.
I'm
Low
sorry.
blow.
I'm sorry. Okay. I'm gonna say that the first one was probably it.
I'm going to say the second one simply because a bro's reaction might be there's this really hot Spanish chick in it and she doesn't show anything.
I'm kind of torn because one of the main girls, or one of the main people is a girl. I have to go with the first one, though.
All right. Well, actually, trick question.
They're both.
Trick review. These are not for either of them. What? This is,
You can't do that. You
What
broke
a
the
dick.
rules.
this is both for the movie Smiley.
Oh my god. Oh god.
Gotcha.
Oh.
And actually,
I did it for the lulz.
Right. The reason is there actually weren't any 1-star reviews for this movie. So boom, in your all's fucking faces.
No, all that means is that
It's a mass
there's like
turd
2
piece.
reviews.
No, there was about 80 reviews or 40 reviews or something like that, and there was not enough. There was,
Darn it, I should have agreed with Devin.
all right.
This is what I get. This is what I
Gotcha.
get.
No, seriously, the worst one was like 4 out of 10 stars, and it wasn't funny.
There's gonna be a 1-star review on there tonight.
Oh boy.
I'm going to go
No,
fix
I
that
don't.
for you.
All right, the last movie, Henry, A Portrait of a Serial Killer. So first, this pile of feces suddenly turns up
Nice.
into a snuff film. Don't be fooled.
That's
This
totally Henry.
is a rapist fantasy for ugly men who hate women disguised as something of artistic merit.
Brutal.
Next one. There is enough real-life sickness without filmmakers wallowing in an orgy of violence like they did in this waste of celluloid. I think anyone connected with this tripe should feel ashamed of themselves.
I'm
First
going to
one?
say the second one, and that's Ebert talking about Henry, probably. That sounds well put together.
I'm going with first one. It sounds too close to the plot.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the first one as well.
The first one is from Last House on the Left.
Go to hell.
That actually, that
That's not
review is
accurate.
pretty accurate. I 100% agree with that review.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And the second one is not Ebert, Dylan.
Somebody wanted to be.
Yeah. All right.
That's funny because that is exactly how I feel about Last House on the Left.
I'm just going to go put up a review for Sleep Tight. Just the first line is Sleep Tight. That's what you should be doing instead of watching this movie.
Nice, nice. And then we
Wow.
would probably put it on the cast.
Yeah, that's,
Where's this shitty review from? Oh, that's Blutster.
what a shocker. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. How did that game go? Did you guys do a good job? Or I didn't even really keep track. I feel like everybody was mixed on that one.
we did a good job.
One job.
All right,
did a
we'll
good
say-
job.
We'll say good job.
Yeah,
You did all right.
we did
We
it.
did great.
Great job,
Yeah,
guys.
we did it.
Anyway, thank you guys. Join us every Tuesday for our new episode. And next episode is, again, our Christmas episode.
I'm so pumped.
I know you guys. Are you guys pumped?
I'm so
My
pumped.
nards are pumped.
There's one movie that I know we're going to watch. I'm genuinely pumped as
Which is
hell.
what?
Black
It's
Christmas?
Black Christmas, right?
Oh, yeah,
Oh, I thought you were saying
brother.
Santa's Sleigh with Goldberg.
Also seen that one. Still pumped.
Actually.
Really pumped
Let's
to
not
watch that
spoil
one 'cause
anything.
it's-
Let's not spoil
All right,
anything.
excuse me.
It's interesting.
So yeah, check us out for that episode. Also, again, we're going to be giving away 3 Blu-rays for that episode against Dylan's will. I don't even know if he knew about this before
Nope,
coming.
not at all. I've not been consulted on this at all.
But
You're
it's
buying,
happening.
buddy.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, 3 Blu-rays, and you got to follow us on Twitter to get the rules of that one, and that will be for our Christmas episode. So guys, thank you so much. Hit us up on Twitter and email and Facebook, and again
All at the same time.
At the same time, always, 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 people, stay spooky.
Ooh, ooh.